Hi, I'm Jason McAteer and you're watching the Redmen TV.
Hello and welcome to the Redmen TV. It's the final word after Liverpool drew 2-2 with Exeter City, and in keeping with a much changed Liverpool side, we have got a much changed Redmen TV side.
We do.
Why?
I think they're just devaluing the whole Redmen TV
They are
channel.
devaluing the channel and the show.
Yeah.
I think possibly some hamstring injuries.
Maybe vocal cord injuries.
Vocal cords, not hamstrings.
It was a funny gag.
We were better than
I think
you.
we've delivered on it.
I was cold. We ready? I'm mic'd up. Are you mic'd up, Paul? No, not quite. Can't get it in the hole. Story of his life.
You go, quite the opposite in fact. Yeah, you know, we shot for something. You go outside for 2 minutes to have a conversation.
And they start the show without you.
Usurpers. And the worst thing is, much like the game today, I thought they actually did a better job than the senior Redmen TVers. Yeah,
especially debutant academy prospect Tom Dutton.
Yeah, so basically we thought we'd do that because it was more interesting than talking about the match. In lieu of our normal post-match content, we thought the two of us have a little bit of a chat about it rather than do 15 videos of all saying pretty much the same thing.
Whoa, now you're devaluing Redmen.
But in this instance, I don't think, you know what I mean. I think you could say this. You know what I mean. What are you meant to say? You know, we both have pretty much the same views. I think on this is that if Liverpool weren't going through a massive injury crisis at the moment, Chris, I would be really buoyed by that, because I'd be like, the kids went, they didn't get embarrassed, they didn't get beaten. Brilliant to bring them back to a replay. And you know what I'd say for the vast majority of those players? Go again.
Well, I think that's a big thing, is that, you know, I want to see those players again. And that shows you that they've done well for themselves. You know, it was a big opportunity for them. It was always going to be a difficult tie. You know, the fact that it's televised adds something else to it.
Oh,
you know,
the BBC was sat around.
But it's another pressure that these players don't have.
Yeah.
You know, so not only are they actually playing first team football with the proper Liverpool kit on and all that shit, but they've got the fucking eyes of England watching. It's a huge amount of pressure, and the lads, the young lads, all did really well.
Yeah, I thought
I joked about the four academy lads there, all played really well.
Yeah, no, completely. The young ones were the ones who shone, and it was the senior players who struggled the most in that game, and we'll talk about that a little more in a sec. But I think it was interesting. I think exactly what you're telling, the pressure there. We conceded the early goal, great goal. Nichols, great finish, great ball in, great finish. That we got the goal back so quickly. Sinclair really, really instinctive finisher, and we got a bit lucky. I think that was great, because that gave the lads so much confidence that, well, hang on, we can score here. You know, it takes a real weight off. But when fucking Bogdan's dropping bollocks like that again, you could see the heads of the players go down. We stopped being a threat. We actually stopped being a threat after about half an hour of that football match, to be perfectly honest. But once that went in, we didn't look like we had another goal in us. And that's hard, because and I said it during the game, I think if we hadn't scored the equaliser so quickly, the first equaliser, that's probably how the whole game.
Yeah, I think you're right. We've seen it time and again, not just with kids. We've seen it with Liverpool Football Club. You know, the first team, that it always happens. The longer you go without a goal, the more difficult it is. And these lads don't have any experience as such to draw upon, to be able to go, actually, you know, we can keep playing our game, and we will eventually break down. Yeah. You know, you'd imagine that because of their youth and their lack of experience, that they might actually crumble under that pressure. The fact that they never says there is something in a lot of those players where they've got a belief about themselves, you know, where some of those players might go on to succeed for Liverpool Football Club, and that's what you want to see when you field young kids like that, isn't
absolutely. It? So who would pick three who stood out as being the best for you?
Smith. Head and shoulders for me. Ojo, when he came on, changed the game as far as Liverpool went. And I was really impressed with Brannigan. Yeah. You know, just not that he did anything that was major, like had a massive influence on the game, but you know, at a time when we needed to gain a little bit of control, he was a calm head in the centre of the field. Yeah. The ones that I wasn't, as far as the youth players go, I thought Randall had struggled quite a lot at right back, stopping crosses and stuff like that. Yeah. Kiravea, when he came on, I expected a little bit more from him. You know, there was that one pass where it went out of play, didn't it? And it was a pretty awful pass. But
I think it's a bobble, that isn't it? Not.
Oh, was it right? I didn't see that. Like, but yeah. What about you?
It's funny because I get what you're saying on Kidderver to some extent. Is that he looked when he came on, for me anyway. He looked that little bit more advanced than the players we had on the pitch in terms of he looked a little bit further along his development. And it's telling because I was thinking right up to that moment you mentioned there, the ball came to him. We were starting to put some nice passing together, and it came to him, and he just so confidently turned, and then it just mishit it for whatever reason, put it like 10 yards behind what would have been Randall or whatever on the right hand side, and I thought he was okay. The problem we had with all that was I don't think consistently. I think Brad Smith is probably the stand-up one for guy plays the full game, and he's involved for the full game. He looked almost like a
it's just his
senior
engine,
player.
to be honest with you. That's what impressed me most. You know, his crossing's good. We've seen that over the couple of appearances that he's had so far. It actually wasn't great. But, you know, the willingness to keep on trying, to keep getting forward, that first sort of 15, 20 minutes where he started to have this little interplay with Teixeira and stuff like that, you're thinking, you can see there's an understanding there. Yeah. You know, and he understands how you attack as a fullback. Yeah. So
I think he deserves man of the match, if I'm honest, for that 90-minute performance, because, and we said this, the video's probably not even seen the light of day because it was a processing issue. We did do a team news reaction beforehand. I don't think it worked, but I was saying about I think this was going to be one of those games that we come away and we're looking at like bright sparks of performance, and they're the main highlights. So for me, it was the first half performance of João Teixeira. He was the best player on the pitch by an absolute mile, and he should have been, because he's at the very worst, he's a very good championship level player, because he's proven that. Well, I say proven, he got injured at Brighton, didn't he? But he looked really good, but I think he faded out of the game. We didn't really see him back in it till like the last 10 minutes or so. But positives, I think, to be taken from that. In a shorter sense, like the first 15, 20 minutes from Ryan Kent, when he looked really positive, really direct,
I didn't
and
see
then
that.
for the first 15 minutes, you were saying how well he was doing.
No. I was saying it was good to see someone get the ball and go with a man, but after that first 15, 20 minutes where it's actually not worked, to then continue it and it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Well,
that's what I'm saying. Is the first 15 minutes.
But you've got to you then shine a light on that first 15 minutes and go, actually, it wasn't him being bright. It was nice to see someone going at the man, but he didn't go past his man once. Yeah. He didn't get a decent ball in.
I think his problem was
it's not a good first 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Because that was just that. You know, the second 15 minutes was was worse.
It wasn't
bad.
It wasn't that. It was what was impressive about him was when he did get past his man, and when it was his running into the box as well. The give and goes that he was playing down the right hand side, I thought were the most exciting, because what we were saying, what he did, which most of our attacking midfielders don't do, is he played it to the right back and then he made the run into the box, as opposed to hanging back and waiting for the ball to come back in. There was a great little moment when he did get inside there. He looked bright. He's got
bright, but you got to have
good touch, good feet, good pace. But it's telling. I think that Ojo did more in his cameo at the end of the game. But again, positives for me anyway. But the Ilori, that was the hardest one for me to judge, because I'd be interested to know why it was he came off. My guess is because he literally hasn't played a proper game of football in like 6 months or 7 months or whatever. But then again, Jose Enrique lasted the full game without collapsing. He was a weird one to judge, Ilori, because I don't know, when someone's not played footy, it's hard to go, well, I don't think we should say he's shit or he's boss or whatever. He did some little bits. He got in the right places for things sometimes, but he just looked a little shell-shocked, I guess.
Yeah,
at the
flip side of that, there was a couple of times where he went for the ball and completely misjudged it and stuff like that. And you're right, it's a really difficult one to judge for Ilori. I mean, if I had to give him a mark, I'd probably give him a 5.
What would Enrique get?
A 6.
Really?
Yeah.
He was defo better than Enrique.
Well, I don't think so. I think Enrique's, at the end of the day, you know, he's lasted 90 minutes. He's lasted 90 minutes. He's at fault, of course, for one of the things, like, you know, he's not tracking back and stuff like that. But I don't know. I didn't feel confident with Ilori then. Maybe that's because I've not watched him. Yeah. I've seen Enrique. I know that he can be a good player. Yeah. You know, we talked about it during the game where Enrique's, we laugh and joke about it all the time. He's not shit. You know, he's not a centre back. Enrique playing out of position, Yeah, I'd give him a 6 and I'd give Ilori a 5.
I go the other way. If I had to pick on it like you mean, I thought Ilori was just sad. I've not looked at Ilori and gone, hey, there's our answers to our defensive woes solved. He was just there, and it was a weird game to test them on as well in terms of centre half performance, because they crafted one or two little opportunities and all that, but it wasn't like I don't know, there was no obvious battles, you know, and there was nothing that you could say that was like stupendous defending or stupendous defending was needed. I guess it was just a bit fucking shitty, wasn't it? Like, but going the other way, Sinclair very calm for his finish. The Benteke one's an interesting one though, because we had a bit of a debate going in the studio when we were watching it. That we saw 5 minutes at the end of the game when he got some service and he looked half decent. Every other minute of that game, pretty much, he looked dreadful.
Yeah, you're right. And Tom was the one saying it at the time, wasn't he, during the thing? But I've been saying it for 3 weeks. I've been saying it when the guy gives you a fucking where his arm, where he's pointing to where he wants the ball, give him the ball. Until you give him the ball, you can't judge him. Yeah. Because you're not giving him in the right position.
And big fellas, you've got to get men around them. And we've said this since Peter Crouch, you know, and we always struggle when we play a big guy. I think that's always been our biggest fault in using players like that, is that we just don't get enough men in support. And we saw that 5 minute period when you've got Ojo and Smith and Teixeira come back into the game, and he looked a threat. He should look more of a threat against that level of opposition, but ultimately as a centre forward, and for once Sinclair's gone off as well, like lone centre forward, I guess. It's a lonely game at the best of times, isn't it? Like you mean? And when you're a big fella, I think even lower down, defenders lower down the league, it's just heading the ball, isn't it? You know what I mean? I don't think you need to be fucking Paolo Maldini or Alessandro Nesta or whatever, world-class defenders here, to win headed contests. I think you can. There's probably a level where it's just a basic of football.
I think that the flip side again, you know, I'm back in Benteke here, is some of his runs do astound me. Like, I'm like, why are you making that run? Why are you dropping off there? Why are you not attacking the ball and stuff? And he just doesn't seem to ever be on the same page as anyone around him.
No, very rarely anyway. No, it's a shame. I don't want to be too downbeat about all this, because like I said, I've seen more senior Liverpool teams make a far bigger hash of games like that in the past. Loads, you know what I mean? It's happened in the past. Whether maybe not necessarily as low as League Two and what have you, but you know, we on another day, we could have gone out to that. And I think the good thing is, yeah, people might think it's a bad thing. Oh, more games in a busy season or whatever. But I'm going to read some of your Twitter comments as well on this, and I'm just going to touch upon one. But it was this notion of it'd be interesting to see our players playing on a better pitch, because I think at Anfield, if we could play a relatively similar side, because I thought what I felt favoured Exeter in that was they got over the fact that it was Liverpool after about half an hour of that game and settled into them being a proper team, whereas our team went the other way and got over it being like, oh, wow, I'm just playing and it's loads of fun, and it's like, oh, it's a fucking proper game, and oh, I don't know where any of my teammates are by comparison to me, and oh, I've swung for the ball and it's moved 6 inches away because it's a fucking divot. The swing of the game was always going to favour Exeter as it went on, and I think as a result, I'm pleased that they've come over that test in some respects, but always interested to know your thoughts. Of course, let them know in the comments below. I say we're not going to be doing the normal post-match stuff. We thought we'd just do this instead. Like I say, I will be doing some of your Twitter reactions as well. So do check that video out. Yes, we'll be back next week with the usual bout of sensational Redmen TV content.
Tons coming up.
Loads.
Arsenal next.
Yeah. If you haven't seen it as well, if you want entertaining tonight, go and watch the Fancy Footy forfeit for this month. The 5th forfeit we've done. A paintball gauntlet. Yeah, there's an indoor paintball centre in the city of Liverpool. It's us, it's Ball Street, it's Arsenal Fan TV, and the loser basically had to go into paintball without a gun. I can't put it any more succinctly than that. Go and check it out. It's fucking hilarious. It's on the YouTube channel right now. Thanks very much for watching. Thanks, Chris.
And you, Paul.
Keep smiling, man. And we'll see you soon. Ta-ra.
Probably the biggest.
It kind of felt like 13-14 again then.
Yeah.
It was the the intensity that the team started with, wasn't it? You know, first 20 minutes they really set the tempo, didn't they?
Yeah. And I don't think that's any sort of disrespect to Brendan, because we know how I feel about Brendan and what he'd done